When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
What's going on, everyone? This is Uche Njoku, excuse me, sneaker principal. And it is Sunday, September 10th. I want to give a quick shout out and happy birthday to my baby sister, Amira. Happy birthday. Happy 33. Let's get into it. So it's Sunday. And Sunday is typically across the country, you know, especially in the fall, time for football, right? And I have to be honest with you. I played high school. I played a little bit of high school football, a little bit of college football, Division III. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. So I've always felt like I'm one of those people because I've actually been in the trenches in some capacity. For me to watch it, it has to be a very, very, very compelling reason for me to sit down and watch a whole entire game. So I might get into the Super Bowl. I might sometimes get into the college championships. Or maybe there's someone who's playing that I think like, wow, I want to see this person do their thing. But typically I'm not one to be like, okay, I'm anticipating a football game. But this season, I think like many football fans out there, there's been definitely the buzz around Deion Sanders and what he's doing in Colorado. And strangely enough, I was in Colorado last October or so, and specifically in Boulder. I went to a really dope Mexican spot in Boulder. You know, walked around the campus. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city. I was actually there in Denver months prior to that, the following school year with the Con Fellows. With the Con Fellows from Columbia University, and we were down there as well. A bunch of principals. So it's interesting to hear that he was going to Colorado because I can say, oh, I've been to that campus. It's beautiful. And that elevation is no joke. But outside of that, just watching everything else having to do with Deion Sanders and Jackson State and him leaving and all that, and all the commotion, all the craziness, you know, and all the talk about him. So it's been in the forefront of the news, you know, in social media for a while now. But what's interesting is, and I'm not going to sit here and go over the last two games, the first two games of the season, which was the last two games, and everything that transpired. Here's a coach who literally took on one of the worst performing Division I programs, and with the confidence of the bravado to believe that he'd be able to make an immediate impact in the first year, and so far, game one, which was the Saturday before yesterday, they went up against the runner-up to the national championship, TCU, and they beat them. It was a dogfight, but they beat them. It wasn't a very defensive game, but it was very offensive, and they beat them. All right, now, people are saying, well, that's not the same team that went to the championships. A lot of people graduate, all the other stuff. Then guess what? Yesterday, we went up against Nebraska. They're historical rivals, and it was a rough game. It was a rough game. Throughout the game, even the announcers had a lot to say about Colorado, whether or not they were ready, whether or not they let the TCU game get to their heads. There was a lot of talk about, you know, Shedeur Sanders, who is Deion's son, not quite being there. You know, he's a great guy, but now he's facing the truth, right? And the final score was 36-17. Colorado won. And the last touchdown was what they call a garbage touchdown. So it was at the end of the game, it meant nothing. So they handed Nebraska their butts on a silver platter. Yes, the game was tough. But I know that when you're in combat, you're fighting for your life. You might get stabbed up. You might get an arm blown off. I mean, God, I don't want to be morbid. Things can happen to you. But the question is, did you survive? And Colorado showed that under adversity, they can survive and find their rhythm and put some points on that board. So it was great. So far it's been great. And for all we know, this Cinderella story could stop after game 2. I mean, they should easily be able to manage their next opponents, which is Colorado State, which will be next Saturday, I think, at Colorado. Then after that, they have to go up to Oregon. Then after Oregon, they come back home to face USC, whose quarterback was last year's Heisman Trophy winner. So it's about to be crazy. And yes, I know I'm sounding like I watch a lot of football, but listen, I do a lot of reading. I watch a lot of short clips. But I did watch the Colorado games. I watched them. And I was like, wow. So now I'm quite fascinated by Colorado, and specifically, not even Deion Sanders himself as a coach, as a Hall of Fame NFL player, all-star baseball player, all the things he's done in his career. I'm fascinated by this concept of the prime effect. The prime effect. There was a commercial that ran yesterday, during which it was a University of Colorado commercial, and throughout the whole commercial, they had different members of the community, students, professors, whoever else on campus. And they were saying things like, this is a prime location, prime campus, prime science department, prime this, prime that, prime that. And the playoff of prime, because, again, prime time is Deion Sanders' nickname from his playing days until to this day. No one calls him Coach Sanders. They call him Coach Prime. So there's this thing that is becoming a thing, or that is a thing, called the prime effect. His ability to walk into a space and suffocate out doubt, to suffocate out failure, to suffocate out anything that says that I am not able to do this, or I cannot. He did it at Jackson State. I believe I read somewhere that his presence had a $40 million impact, or plus, in the local economy of the town of Jacksonville. We're not even talking about the college itself. We're talking about just the outside of that campus. His presence there as a football coach shifted culture. More students wanted to go to school there. More people were coming to the town, and businesses were making money. People were coming to see what was happening with the football team, which had a direct impact on what's happening on campus. People said it was a fluke. It's a HBCU. He's a black celebrity, a black great football player, black man who is now in the space, and his presence there was, should shift culture, should have an impact. The question is, could he do it again at Colorado? So guess what? This man took a job for a $29.5 million contract. I think over 3 years or whatever the number is. I'm not sure, but that was what he said. Okay, fine. Let's sign on the dotted line. When he signed, the university didn't even have the money to pay him. They were hoping that just by him saying, "I'm coming to be the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes," that it would have an effect, an impact immediately on the community. So they raised the money. As soon as he was coming, all of a sudden, $20+ million appeared out of alumni donations. Think about this. You sign up for a job, and they said, "We want to pay you this, but we don't have the money. But we know as soon as you sign your name to the paper, the money will come because of who you are and what you bring to the table." That's not normal at all. That's not normal. That's exactly what's happened. They're saying right now that this year alone, the prime effect will probably net over $100 million to the university. Just the prime effect. We're not talking about bowl games. We're not talking about anything else other than just his presence within the space, which means it's going to draw people in, more students, more people who want to work with the university, just because the head coach of the football team is Deion Primetime Sanders. I have a couple of notes here. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything in this, because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make a connection between the prime effect and what could happen if school leaders. I don't know if I can say all school leaders, but I want to know. I'm wondering what would happen if talented, confident, visionary school leaders applied some of the things that Deion has applied in his career as an athlete, as a coach, as a commentator. You know, like, this man has been consistent throughout his whole career. So think about this. The tangibles that he's brought everywhere he's gone, and specifically Colorado, he's brought charisma, his ability to talk to people, to make you believe in what he says is going to happen. Passion. Go on social media. Any video of Coach Prime doing this thing with his athletes, being interviewed, like, I'm telling you, you feel like you want, like, you're trying to go back to school. Like, I'm trying to jump in the time machine and go to my younger self and forward my younger self to today, so I can go to the University of Colorado and try to walk on that team. Or if not, just be the mascot or be in the audience, you know, or be in the bleachers. I don't know. Okay, so that passion he draws out is so infectious that you can't help but want to believe if you don't already believe. And he has a particular, unique approach to coaching. Think about this. He moves as a mentor. He talks about his players, him being their mentor, their role model, the example by which they should live by. He sets very, very clear old school rules with these boys. You would think him with the gold chain, the gold whistle, and the swag and everything else, and, you know, play my theme song, and he starts dancing and everything else. But behind that, pay attention to longer format videos, and this is what he's saying. Get home on time. Go to sleep. Get some rest. Don't go out there wilding out. This is what I expect of you. Okay? Well, tomorrow we're going to be in our suits. We're going to be in our suits for this game. We're going to arrive in our suits. Here are the ties that you can wear. Here are the colors. Okay? You're not sagging your pants around me. All these things that are super old school that you would think somebody with so much swag like him would not be about. Okay? But the thing is this, he's a mentor. He says, I will live up and move the way I say that you should move so you can see it can be done, right? He's the guiding light. He's a guiding light. When things are at its darkest, he's not one to cower and make excuses and woe is me. No, he says, guys, we're going to keep moving forward. We coming. And guess what happens? You know, I saw it yesterday. His son got sacked 7 times. I was like, damn. It's funny because people were watching the game and thinking, oh, what's he doing? He keeps on getting sacked. But I was thinking to myself, man, the blows this man's body is going through. Listen, have you ever been hit on a football field? Okay, high school. The first time I got my bell rung was in high school. But when I got to college, it was different. We were grown men. Grown men, much faster, much stronger. In high school, I was benching 225. Okay? 2 plates, easy. I got to college, I was hitting 315. That's a different kind of strength. And that happened literally within a year, like 18 months. I just got that much stronger because I was older. I gained some weight, some bass in my voice, and it was just different. So now, here he is. This young man, I think he's like 21, 22. So these are young men going at it there. And he got sacked. He got hit. And he kept on getting up, kept on moving forward. And his father kept on pouring into him. He kept on pouring to the whole entire team, their guiding light. This is where we're going. Don't let that moment of distraction, that moment of apparent failure, stop you from failing forward or moving forward. Guiding light. They knew it. The kids knew at any given time they could look to their coach and know he was going to keep pointing them in the right direction. Okay, and of course, just being a figure of inspiration, and not just to these athletes, to the whole entire damn university. At this point in time, to the whole entire country. I can tell you right now, there are kids right now who are sitting in high school, freshmen, sophomores, still got a year or 2 or 3 before graduating, who may be 3, 4, 5-star prospects, who all want to go play for Coach Prime. They don't care about Notre Dame. They don't care about Alabama. They don't care about Florida State. They don't care about the U. They don't care about the Ohio State. They don't care about none of that. All they care about is, I want to go play for Coach Prime. Think about that. When I was a kid, I was thinking about university names. USC, UCLA, the Bruins. No. Kids out here rocking t-shirts that said Prime Time. Now, I say all this to say, what if these same thought processes and philosophies were brought into the school setting? What if, as a school leader, you walked in there and you set a clear vision, an inspirational vision, an intentional mission for your school community? There's one thing people say about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. They say he's arrogant, he's boastful, he's cocky. And I don't see that. He said something very, very true. He said people have a problem with seeing a confident black man. Keyword confident. Confidence. Too many of us school leaders move into spaces and we move in fear. That nervous energy. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, first of all, if you're saying you don't want to get in trouble, you should be, what are you doing that will get you in trouble? Okay, you should not be doing anything illegal, anything that's counter to the rules and policies of your school district or your school community. But however, how you move, listen, this one thing I learned in the military, one thing I learned in corporate America, one thing I've learned just in life in general, birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. And whenever you see birds in the air, flying, and they're flocking, geese, whatever, there's always that one bird ahead of every other bird. There's always that one geese. They're flying that triangle formation. There's always that one goose or geese or that one goose or whatever flying ahead. Same thing with any kind of birds. Okay, at least any bird that flies in formation. But there are some birds out there that fly all kinds of crazy. I'm not talking about bats. I'm talking about like when you see birds who are flocking together. There's always some kind of formation. There's always a bird in the front. As a school leader, you are that bird. You are that leader. And the way you move is the way everybody's going to move. You move in fear, everybody moves in fear. You move in a state of arrogance and it's all about you, and you gotta make sure you have your Milano Blahniks or your red bottoms or your whatever it is you're into, and you gotta be just so fly and so dope because the title, I am the principal, or I am the assistant principal. But is that something people can gather around? Is that something people could commit to? Is that setting a state of being, a point of leadership, that guiding light that says, no, this is where we're going. And not only that, I believe it so much, I will walk ahead of everyone else. As a matter of fact, I want everybody to walk behind me. So when the shots start coming, I will protect everyone because we have a very clear mission of where we're going as a school community, with our parents, with our students, and everybody who's involved. That is what I see the prime effect as, when you are able to impact not just on paper, where people start to believe. When the owner of the corner store says to you, "Wow, I see what you're doing." When people in the community start to ask, "How can we get involved?" When parents start saying, "Listen, I'm at home. Most of the day I have nothing to do. Can I come in and help? I want to make sure that we succeed." These are the things that result from having a prime effect in your school community. This is why Deion Sanders is able to have a potentially $100 million impact on the community of Buffalo. I'm sorry, Buffalo. the Buffalo's community, this their mascot, the community of Boulder. And I'll be honest with you, probably even this whole entire state. Let's be honest here. Tax revenue from these football games, when people show up. We know that every Sunday when there's a home game, maybe even when there isn't a home game, it's a away game. All the people go to the bars and restaurants, and the TVs that come out there, and people who are ordering food and everything else to watch the game. I can only imagine how much tax revenue he's even impacting the whole entire state with. Think about that. One man, a black man, a confident black man, right? These are the things I think can make a bigger impact in our school community if we start having that kind of mentality. A couple of other words that I wrote down here. When you move like that with that mentality of this will be done, and you have a clear plan, not just lip service, you have a clear plan. A couple of things that I got to say that people are not paying attention to as much. People keep thinking it's just Deion Sanders. And when he went to Colorado, he told them that, I'm bringing my Louis luggage. What he meant was he's bringing his athletes. He has some primetime athletes he's bringing with him. He brought his two sons. He brought Travis Hunter, who arguably is probably the best thing in football since Deion. Yesterday, I watched him play every down. Travis Hunter played every down. He didn't have a break until the end when they knew it was only over the last 5 minutes. Then they pulled him off the rest of the game. He played every down on offense and defense. When the offense was on the field, he was on the field. When the defense was on the field, he was on the field. And he had an impact. Catches, tackles, tackling big boys. So these are the kind of athletes he brought with him. But then what he did too, he cleared out the whole entire roster. Had 80 new athletes he brought in. Guys who had never played before together. This is what makes Colorado very interesting. In 6 months, he put together a team, a ragtag bunch of guys who all came together to do something that is highly unlikely. It takes a lot of teams a year or two to gel, to find their footing. They're doing this in months. So, he comes in, and all we're talking about is him and his athletes. We're not really talking about the coaching staff as much. I forget his name. His offensive coordinator, I believe, was the head coach at Kent State. People say he's a dynamic coach. He just didn't have the tools there. So he steps down from being a head coach to being an assistant, to be the offensive coordinator for Prime. He should be a head coach. And then he brings on a lot of other guys who could easily be coordinators. In some cases, head coaches themselves put together a strong team of specialists, people who know what they're doing, but even more so, people who believe in the vision. Now, as a school leader, that is exactly what we should be doing. A lot of you guys know I took on a school May 1st of last spring, and this is a school. A lot of people told me, like, "Are you nuts? What do you like? This is crazy. Like, you should, like, this is a highly difficult school that you've taken on." But check this out. In my vision, I thought to myself, I looked at the data. I believe I know what this school community is capable of, what these kids are capable of. but I need the talent now. And what did I do? I went out there and I had my own prime effect. I reached out to some people that I knew that were amazing educators and said to them, hey, here I am. You know, I'm at a University of Colorado type school, but I think we could be champions. And I had teachers, master teachers, incredible, you know, aspiring leaders who could go on to take on leadership, much higher leadership roles at other schools. They chose to come here because I set the tone for a vision that I believe could have much bigger impact than going to a school that's already well established and things that's going amazingly well. The prime time effect encourages creativity, innovation, and fearlessness. I'm going to say it again. The prime time effect encourages creativity. Because you're in a space where you got to think outside the box. How am I going to move this forward? What am I going to do here to make sure that what I see is what's going to happen? Innovation. Again, thinking outside the box. What are we going to do is different? How are we going to set the world ablaze by the work that we're going to do in this space? How are we going to be the model for everyone else? Because when you innovate, you're saying that this innovation should not be replicated, right? And then fearlessness. I can only imagine. You know, it's funny. His son, Deion Sanders, says that his dad, all doing every game day, it's a ball of nerves. His anxiety kicks up. Like, don't talk to him. He's in his head, and I get that. Because when you move the way you move like that, and you're saying, "Listen, I'm going to have to go to war to change the status of a community, to change the lives of these young men," you gotta be fearless. But being fearless, it doesn't mean you're stupid. You also know that the world is on your shoulders. You've made guarantees, and you've made promises. So when you move with fearlessness and that bravado, people assume it's just arrogance. It's not arrogance. I have to believe what I'm doing because there are people who are depending on me to be right. There are people who have committed their lives to my promises, to my assertions. So now I gotta go in there and be ready to go to war. Not for myself, not for my ego, but for them. Because I've said I would. Winning culture is something that we see in sports. We want to win. You know, you judge by your wins. And that's when you become a dynasty. When you win, you're a dynasty. So when you start thinking about the Alabamas, you start talking about the LSUs, you start talking about the USCs back in the day, the Notre Dames, all these schools that are legendary for winning. Because it's about winning, right? One of the things I'm going to say before I close out is that for some weird reason, when it comes to our school communities, we don't want to talk about winning. Like, oh my God, we can't talk about winning. That's not a good trait to teach kids. And I think that is the most lousiest, like, nonsense concept ever. I've told my students this. As soon as I was able to coin this a couple of years back, it's been my mainstay. I do not want you to go into the world and just survive. I want you to go into the world and conquer. I'm not even talking about winning. I'm talking about conquering. Conquering in every aspect of your own life. Your work life, your relationships, your love life, your spirituality, all the things that are important to you, you should be conquering them. And unfortunately, we don't put that into kids. We tell kids that they have to, just be good people. Yes, be an amazing human being, but win and go beyond winning, conquer. And we need to teach our kids how to do this. Often our kids they leave school and go into the real world and they don't know how to survive. All they do is survive. And when they're at their lowest, they just sit there. But no one ever told them how to scrap, how to fight back, and how to claw, how to burn the midnight oil, how not to give up even when things are dark. Instead, we just pat them in the back and say it's okay. And not everybody's meant to. That is not true. That is not true. Everybody's not meant to because enough people don't believe that they can. It is important that we teach our kids how to win well, win good, without destroying other people, but win. And if you don't win, walk off that field, walk off that whatever that race was, knowing, man, I hit my personal best today. It's funny. I watched the World Track and Field Championships, and I saw this one woman. I think she ran in the 100-meter race. I think she came in like 4th place. She was so ecstatic. I know it might have been the European Championships, but she was so ecstatic. She was crying. She was like, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" And if you just watch, you might think, is she crazy? She didn't get gold. She didn't get silver. She didn't get bronze. She came in 4th place. But she broke her personal best time. I was thinking to myself, she got that much faster, which means now she knows what she's capable of. And sometimes you just got to get faster and faster and faster. You might never win, but guess what? You will end up being one of the best at what you do. She came in 4th place, and guess what? She runs faster than me. She probably runs faster than you. And she had every reason to be excited about that moment. But she conquered. She blew out her personal record. And now she's still fighting and clawing for a better time and better time. And eventually her best times will put her in third, second, and maybe even 1st place. You never know. All right, y'all. This is much longer than I expected. It's 40 minutes, and I know nobody's going to watch. No, 32 minutes. I know nobody's going to watch video this long. But I was thinking about this yesterday, and why are we not applying the prime effect into what we do as school leaders? Because I believe if we do this, and we do it with fidelity, and we do it with confidence, and fearlessness, we can shift school communities. We can impact neighborhoods. I believe a school can economically impact a neighborhood. I believe that a school can bring wealth into a neighborhood. Rather than a school existing that if it does its job, that the kids may one day do well. No, I want the community to do well. I want my school to be a cornerstone, a shining gem in the community. I want businesses coming in and say, like, how can we support your school? But we see what you're doing. And knowing that by supporting the school, we're supporting the community. We're bringing resources into the community. Y'all, this is Uche and Njoku. Thank you so much for your time. This time, wherever you are, whether it's morning, night, evening, whatever time it is, I appreciate you. And if you watch this and you're a school leader or aspiring leader, think about this. How can you apply the prime time effect into the work that you do? Y'all, be well.